The Pittsburgh Steelers run game came alive in their 23-19 win over the Green Bay Packers. I'm Chris Carter, host of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'll take you into the Steelers locker room and we'll talk about how that happened, along with what the defense did in the second half to improve and why Kenny Pickett's still struggling. All that here and more on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting networks and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed at Game Time. Now, it was game time for the Steelers, and that means it's a victory Monday for Steelers fans here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Now, the Steelers win 23-19, and the offense scores on its first three possessions of the game. Two of those to start off the game were touchdowns, and much of it thanks to the ground game and the offensive line. Now, you look at this game, I haven't had a chance to go over the all-22 yet or anything like that, but just watching from it live and looking at some of the plays just on the broadcast again, that offensive line got moving. And it looked like one of the biggest differences was this offensive line was less zone blocking unless they were outside, and that was a little bit different. But this offensive line is playing better. It's one with Broderick Jones out there that needs to continue. He's playing very well, but also when they are on the move, when they're not worrying about a zone as much, when they're attacking, when they're getting downhill faster, this offensive line is more aggressive. It's creating more space, and it seems like that style of blocking is starting to gel with the Steelers running backs. Jaylen Warren, 15 carries, 101 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 82 yards and a touchdown. Both phenomenal, both a 1-2 punch. And listen, Jaylen Warren, he played better than Najee Harris in this game, and there's been a few times you could say that about him. But I think what the truth value is here now is both of these guys together, they are weapons, and the 1-2 punch of them can be very dangerous because neither of them will let you kind of relax as a run defense if they're punishing you and the Steelers offensive line is moving you off the ball. So when I went into the Steelers locker room, I really wanted to talk to Broderick Jones, get his perspective on things, what he did in this game, but also what has the offensive line been focusing on to change things moving forward. Here is Broderick Jones answering that, talking about Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren as a duo, and giving us a little bit of insight into what is changing for the Steelers offense to help this run game get going. Here's Broderick Jones after the game. I feel like there's a unity building with you guys on the line, just being able to win across the board more consistently.
Not even just across the front. With the running backs too, like we're meeting with the running backs more. Like we do that on Thursdays, so they can get an insight on what we see. We can get an insight on what they see, and just us building that bond together, just being able to attack the run. So
is that something new you guys started doing?
The last couple of weeks, yes. Probably like week 5 or 6 we started on.
What kind of feedback are you getting from them? What are you learning through that process?
Just what they see, just being able to visualize what they're seeing, like the cuts they're trying to make. If they see a 3-tech stretching with us, they'll cut it back. If we get them sealed, they'll hit the hole. Just little things like that. The linebacker play, all that plays a factor in it.
Who are the most vocal people in those meetings?
Everybody. Everybody gets to say so in those meetings. It's not just one specific person. So,
what's the benefit of having that 1-2 punch in the back?
It's a big benefit. We got 2 workhorses back there, so it's no fall off between the two. So when one comes out, one comes in. We're not changing the game up. We're not changing the scheme of things. We're sticking to it, and they get the job done at the end of the day. So
you guys called a lot of pitches and sweep outside. What was the thought going into that? What was the talk all week about how that was going to be over?
Just because they're up front, they stunt so much. So just being able to get outside of them, probably slow them down with the stunts and stuff. So
I think you got your 200 yards rushing as a team with that last run by Warren.
Man, they did a great job today, man. You know, I like, you know, I'm down there blocking, but I can hear the stands just going crazy every time they break one. So you know, it feels good.
So you said 166 wasn't enough for you. You said that's
Nah, yeah, 200 plus every time for me. You know, that's just me, honestly, my honest opinion.
So if you didn't catch that last part there, Broderick Jones said in the locker room last week he wanted 200 yards every time the Steelers ran the ball in the game. So he wants 200 yards a game, and the Steelers got it, 205 rushing yards. And that was something we talked about with Peter Bukowski going into this week. Peter Bukowski, of course, from Locked On Packers, was about the chance for the Steelers run game to really come alive. It looked like it might have against the Titans. It ran for the most yards that it had all season at 166. They increase that to 205 against the Packers. And Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, a big part of that. And you heard Broderick Jones talking about it, them being in meetings with the offensive line, and not just they're always in meetings like that. Like I think that there's some people when they hear that quote, they might think, oh, they weren't in meetings before. That's silly. No, they've been in meetings, but I think what they've done is they've increased the frequency of those meetings, and in those meetings, there's a lot of talking back and forth. It appears from both sides. The running backs let them know what they like. The linemen let them know what they like, and they find ways to collab together and put their ideas together so they can say, okay, with the things that we know that the defense likes to do, these are the runs that we're going to combine for. We're going to ask for this week and look for in practice, and that kind of stuff helps out Matt Canada, helps out Pat Meyer, helps out Eddie Faulkner, all the position coaches. That's helping them is if the players are going through the things that they like and vocalizing it to the coaches and to the game plan, saying, hey, let's install this, or let's make sure we highlight this in our playbook this week to do these things this way. And I think that's helping the Steelers. Like, for example, that Broderick Jones said, hey, they're going to, they knew that the Packers want to pack up the middle. They want to use a lot more stunts and twists to kind of confuse you in the middle of your offense. So they wanted to get it out wide a little bit more and give the Steelers some space and kind of neutralize what the Packers did there. That's smart football. That's smart game planning. That's smart stuff on the part of the offense. And I think there's a lot that goes into that. We talked to Najee Harris as well. He had a lot of interesting things to say. And in fact, and initially, when we asked him the same question as Broderick, Najee Harris didn't want to let it out until I brought up that, Broderick Jones started talking about some things. And so Najee Harris kind of was like, oh, okay, I guess so. The cat's out of the bag with some of the things that they're doing. But listen to Najee Harris talk about what the Steelers are trying to do to boost this run game right now. Here was Najee Harris also after the Steelers went over the Packers.
O-line. So Najee, you're talking about, O-line's the MVP 2 weeks in a row. What do you feel like is the biggest change, or what evolved in the run game recently that allowed you guys to open things up here?
I have an idea, but it's not for the public to say. I think I know what it was, but it's just something that's kept in the family, in the locker room that I think that is a big reason why that we're turning around.
We already talked about the importance of the meetings that you and Jaylen have been having with them as a group. What have you seen that help benefit you guys moving forward, improving in the run game?
So that was one of the things that, but it was something that happened in there. It was something that happened in there that kind of really sparked a lot. So I think that was I think it was good, really.
I know last game you talked about enjoying.
Who told you that? Who told you that? Oh, okay.
Rookies,
I
You
know.
guys called a lot more sweeps and tosses than I think you guys normally call. Was there something specific that you guys wanted to take advantage of in the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was situational things. They packed the box inside a lot, so it was better for us to better opportunities to run outside. We'd be more one-on-one. But some of them are like pitches, but they're red, and it's a pitch, and it's not really a pitch though. It's not supposed to get the edge. You're supposed to just read it out inside out in a way. So I will go into details, but I don't think you'll have the time for that. So.
Two more?
Right.
Do you feel like the run game gets more flow once you have linemen pulling and getting more mobile in space?
Well, I think the O-line likes that. When Broderick said, talk about the meetings and stuff, really I just what plays they like. So they like pulling. They do. So we like pulling. We like them pulling too. And they like running outside zone. We like running outside zone. So, they like it. So we like it. So I guess they like it. We like it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Najee, after the last 2 weeks, you feel like the ground game is established and you guys know what you have in that now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We kind of know our identity as a run team now. We know what that is. I don't want to say it, so.
So obviously Najee Harris isn't going to reveal everything, but he's kind of letting you know right there, like, hey, we're listening to the offensive line. They're listening to us. We're having this come together. And they're like, hey, if they like to block a certain way, we like that because that's going to create more space for us as running backs. I think that's such a big factor as far as what happened in this game, why the run game's starting to wake up. Broderick Jones saying that this started back in week 5. And I think if you look at the game since then, you could kind of see a little bit of a growth. Week 5 was Broderick Jones's first start when they played against the Ravens. They only got 87 yards on the ground that game, but you remember that that's a tough Ravens defense. They started to put things together. The Rams game, they ran for 86 yards, but they were better in that game. The Jaguars game, they had their dip. They went back down to 70 yards. Offensive line got their butts handed to them a little bit in that game. But the Titans game, they've kind of that was kind of a step forward, and this game was an even bigger step forward for the run game. And that's what this Steelers offense was always supposed to be. This Steelers offense was not supposed to be a pass-happy team the way that they looked in the preseason when they were scoring on every drive and Kenny Pickett couldn't miss in those drives. They were supposed to be a team that came out, punched you in the mouth, knocked you off the ball. Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, 1-2 punch, get you down the field. And then the passing game came in and things were easier for Kenny Pickett. And it looks like Najee Harris is at the center of that because he's the one, it seems like he's the one that's kind of pushing the whole meetings thing. We heard about that way back at the start of the season when these meetings did start to have. We heard like rumors about these meetings from Broderick Jones and other Steelers linemen who were talking about them. And Najee Harris, if you remember on this very show, leading up to, I believe it was the Ravens game that week 5, he said, we cannot afford to be soft. And then we were too soft against the Texans. That's leadership. That's Najee Harris taking the horns there. And also, again, a lot of people responding because it wasn't just Broderick Jones. Isaac Seumalo, I thought, blocked his butt off. Mason Cole had a good game. James Daniels had a good one. Dan Moore looked like he was good. And again, Jaylen Warren just continuing to do the things that he does. I think the more that this kind of stuff takes a hold on the offense, the more it will open up for everyone else. And that's a very good sign for the direction of this offense. We'll get to Kenny Pickett in a little bit, but I want to talk about the defense because if you haven't seen the video that I posted on Twitter, we're going to show you Joey Porter and Damontae Kazee just being hilarious in the Steelers locker room, but also talk about what the secondary needs to do to have a more complete game than giving up the 2 touchdowns early and how they change things over in the second half. All that and more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We still have a lot to discuss about this big Steelers win that advanced them to 6-3 by beating the Green Bay Packers. But first, we want to remind you this show is brought to you by GameTime.co. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They give you killer deals on last-minute tickets, and their best price guarantee that can't be beat helps you stop stressing over the tickets and starts getting you hyped for the fun that you're about to have. The Game Time app allows you to book tickets up to the last minute, even if you didn't plan on it far advance, even if you're late to your event, up to by an hour. All you have to do is download the Game Time app, look for your seats at your event, and on the Game Time app, it allows you to see the view from the seats. It also allows you to see the real prices of those seats, and you're getting exclusive flash deals on the ticket. And this can be for anything: football games, basketball games, baseball games, hockey games, concerts, comedy events, theater events. Game Time gets you all of those opportunities. And again, they make sure that you see all the fees up front. So all you're doing is clicking 2 buttons. You see the price, you pay for it, the tickets are yours, and it's that easy. Also, the best price guarantee means that you'll always get the best price. Game Time promises you that if you find tickets in the same section and row for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for a $20 off your first purchase. Go to their website, GameTime.co. Terms and conditions apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We keep talking about the Steelers' 23-19 win over the Green Bay Packers and them advancing to 6-3 on the season. Let's talk about this defense a little bit. And this was a mixed bag yet again, but it's also a mixed bag of there's some reasonable factors to it. The Steelers defense suffering another rough injury. They lost Cole Holcomb for the season last week. They've now lost Quan Alexander for the season this week. That's 2 of their starting linebackers gone when they brought in 3 new guys, and the 3 of them were starting to be a really important part of this team because they were helping over the middle and stopping the run, and they were covering better. Landon Roberts played a fantastic game. I still have to go through the all 22, but he might get a 3-star grade from me when we do our grades episodes on for Tuesday. But he played phenomenal. But you could tell when Mark Robinson had to come in the game, there's a few slower steps there. It's natural. Second-year player, 7th-round pick. Like, it's not going to just come overnight, right? He still has to grow into his spot. But you could just see the struggles there. And then, all the guys that they needed to have in the secondary because of Minkah Fitzpatrick's injury and things like that, they're starting to, there's times where the communication is breaking down. And also with guys who are starters, times where Keanu, Neal, and Levi Wallace are trying to cover a guy, and neither one does what they're supposed to do, or one of them doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and it costs them a touchdown. I think both the touchdowns in the first half were about miscommunications. The first touchdown looked like Levi Wallace saw his man break on a corner route. He didn't run with him until it was too late, and no one was there to help. So either Levi Wallace was supposed to run with him, or there was someone he thought he was passing that guy off to, and they weren't there, and he realized that too late. Either way, huge mistake there. On the second touchdown on the deep ball, 3rd and 16, you should never give up 3rd and 16, especially for a touchdown. But then Keanu, Neal, and Levi Wallace, him being a factor on both of these, whoever it was needed to be on that play and needed to be in a better position to make a play on that ball. Jordan Love throws 2 good passes, and it's 2 touchdowns, and had you wondering early, is the defense going to have a terrible day? Now, the defense does what it's done a lot this year, and when it makes mistakes early, it adjusts. And if there's one thing, if you can criticize this defense about how it doesn't take away yards all the time, it does rely on turnovers, it does do this, it does do that, but there's one thing that you have to give this defense credit for, outside of just TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and creating turnovers, is that they make adjustments in game. And they did in this game. Part of it was, I think, figuring out ways to communicate and avoid some of the breakdowns that were happening that allowed some of the big plays that they did during this game. We caught it with Damontae, Kazee, who caught the game-clinching interception. Him and Keanu, Neal both recording an interception in this game, looking solid. Here was Kazee after the game at his locker, not only talking about the struggles that they had in communication and how they need to improve, but also talking about, hey, we're winning football games, talking about the Steelers there. And he's not going to apologize for that. Here's Damontae, Kazee.
Related to that, what is it about the secondary that you guys do seem to give up some chunk plays but then make timely interceptions, especially late in the fourth?
I wouldn't even say the secondary. It's just we're not on the same page right now. A lot of miscommunications, giving communication, a lot of people not receiving it and stuff. So we could do a whole lot better with that. Just younger guys stepping up now, making it more challenging. But, I mean, that's what we live for, the next man up. So
how much of that is missing,
Minkah? I won't say a lot. I mean, a lot of communication comes from the linebacker group. So you got to understand, Quan went down. So Mark Wright had to come in and fill in certain gaps and stuff. So it's a big job. So
does this feel like a win to you, or like something you got a lot of work to clean stuff up?
I've been in this league too long to just say that. It's a win. A win is a win. It's hard to win in this league, man. I don't care if it's by a half a point, 0.5, none of that. It's hard to win in this league. So I'm going to take this win and be grateful and be happy. I ain't got to be stressed this week. So I'm going to enjoy it. Thank you.
So, first of all, really funny for Damontae, Kazee being like, I'm going to enjoy any time you get out of a game with a win. And that's a true NFL vet right there, because too many of these games across the league are it's hard to win in the NFL, man. Like, it's crazy. But I think you can see there Damontae, Kazee pointing to the problem that the Steelers defense had, especially throughout this game, was the lack of communication. When Mark Robinson came in, it revealed to us that, Quan Alexander was going to handle green dot duties now that Cole Holcomb's out for the season. And with Quan Alexander out for the season, those duties passed to Landon. That's another job he has to take on. But also the other linebacker, Mark Robinson, has to also be a communicator on top of being a guy who plays downhill. He has to talk. He has to relay information, pass off switches to guys, and that's going to take time. That's not something that's easy. So I really think that's part of what the Steelers were struggling with in this game. Now, again, they made some really core, key adjustments to be able to keep the Packers, contained in this game. You go back and you look at the second half; they allowed 2 field goals in the third quarter, but their fourth quarter drives, the Steelers once they got the lead back, the Packers had punt, interception on their drives in the fourth quarter. The defense, I think this is now like fourth time the Steelers defense has been on the field at the end of the game and been the unit to close things out to give the Steelers the win this year. That's huge. And we that question was asked a lot to a lot of the players, Kazee to Peterson to everybody, just being like, hey, how are you guys so comfortable with being uncomfortable or with being on the edge like that? And they're like, we play to the last whistle. We play. That's Steeler football. That's what we focus on. So I think that these guys do kind of embrace that, and that's healthy for a team. It's to understand that winning and losing is such a fine line that can be crossed easily or hard. It can cross easily by the smallest thing, but it takes so much work to get one of those small things to happen, and why it takes so much work throughout the week to get to even set up those opportunities. And that's where the Steelers are coming through more and more often this season. But I want to get to you guys. If you've seen the partial clip that I put on Twitter of this was Joey Porter Jr. This was the highlight of the locker room for me when I was in the Steelers locker room after the game. While everyone kind of rushed over from Damontae, Kazee to Patrick Peterson and then to Jaylen Warren, I noticed everyone kind of just passed up Joey Porter Jr. And I'm like, well, it's very rare that I get a one-on-one with Peasy. So let's talk with him. Peasy asks to hold my mic, and then it just goes from there. From the Steelers locker room, here was Joey Porter, and there will be a guest appearance from Damontae, Kazee. Just check this out.
Oh, I can hold that or no? Oh, no, I got it. Okay. Can I hold it? Oh, perfect. Yes. All right.
Second half that allows you guys to communicate and make changes so much this year?
It just like something that we always talk about. Just communication is key. Then with Quan going down, we knew Mark had to step up and just be a great communicator on the field, and we knew since he was down, we all had to communicate. So I feel like going into the second half, that's what we really honed on.
It seems like you guys keep doing this. 2 touchdowns in the first half, but then no touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the second half. Is part of it the veteran leaders that you guys have to help all the younger guys who are coming in and adjusting and making those adjustments, make those plays?
Definitely. I got so many OGs and vets on this team, especially on the defensive side, is crazy. The fact that I have TJ mostly on my side and Alex Highsmith, Pat Pete, Minkum, but when he's out, I have too many guys around just with helping knowledge, so I feel like we're just great on that point.
How y'all are feeling in that last play? You guys line up all on the goal line, and you see Kazee making an interception.
He was saying all week he was gonna get one all game. I was like, about time, finally,
I got more interceptions than you, dog.
How many you got?
2.
He got one more than me. So if he's happy about one more, then come on now. This is my first year.
I only played 4 real years.
This is my first year. You play safety, dog.
I got hurt twice.
You play safety.
So you see the ball more
you play safety. No.
Yes, you do.
You know we play man.
Okay, now we on this subject.
Come on.
Now let's talk football now.
Let's talk.
All this cover 2 shit, talk about, it was OKZ. Let's talk it.
Bro.
Let's talk it.
Listen.
Let's go.
Listen.
Let's go.
Listen.
Let's go.
I'm not going to get back and forth. The past is the past. All I got to say now is just communicate, thank you, and we're going to be good.
That's all you need to see.
And he got to just get a call. Just get a call. Just get a call, and we're going to be good. He be hard-headed. He a madman out there.
Check out his swag and check out my swag.
He copied everything I do. I promise you, he copied everything. Yeah.
How does it feel to be 6-3 at this point of the season, your first year?
It feels good. Just got to keep stacking days and keep rolling. It's a long season ahead of us. By this time last year, I'll probably be done or have a couple of games left. So, man, we got a lot more football left, and I just got to keep working.
That was crazy. And you could feel the brotherhood between that, those guys arguing. That's my dad's got two brothers and a sister, and that was just like them arguing when we get up over the holidays, just the way they were barking back at each other, the competitive nature. That was really cool to see. And it's not the first time it's happened either. Last week, Kazee was telling, Joey Porter Jr. to give him his props for the communication part. And Joey Porter Jr. was like, all right, Damontae, I'm giving you your props, man. I thought that was actually a really cool moment. But stepping back again to the secondary, I think there's so many things that really work right now for the Steelers, in that their communication, when it is on point, you see Patrick Peterson knocking away a pass, running real well with Christian Watson. You can see Keanu Neal being in the right place for the interception, but it has to be more consistent. Maybe with Minka Fitzpatrick back, it will get there. But if it does, but if he's not back, there's going to be some major questions moving forward, especially with the linebacker position. The Steelers are becoming really thin with injuries on the defense at certain parts. They need answers, and they need people to start stepping up in certain jobs. That's going to be a big question moving forward. But bottom line, this defense continues to make adjustments mid-game to find answers, and that's a big part of why they are 6-3 right now. We got to talk about Kenny Pickett. We'll do that on the other side of this break here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We still have a lot to discuss about this game. But first, we got to remind you, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook in America, and with the NFL season well underway, they have incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets back with winning any $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and you can use to bet on spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue talking here. We cannot get away from this game without talking about Kenny Pickett. And I wanted to talk about the offense, the run game, and the defense, because those were the factors that won this game. But Kenny Pickett is still the force on this team that still needs to come around. The Steelers still need Kenny Pickett to develop into the quarterback that can at least be more consistent throughout a game. Now, we didn't see fourth quarter of Kenny Pickett come alive. Granted, he did throw a great pass to Damontae Johnson that was dropped, that if he catches, the Steelers might score another point in this game, score another touchdown in this game in the red zone, and then this one isn't as close in the fourth quarter, and it might be the first comfortable win of the season. But it didn't happen. But even so, there's still just plenty of times where Kenny Pickett is not seeing the field well, and it's costing the Steelers. He finished this game 14 of 23 for 126 yards to the air. It's a passer rating of 75.6. Now, not all that is his fault. So there was a drop from Damontae Johnson. Some of the times he was under pressure and just had to get rid of the ball. But some of the times there were open guys, and he just misread the play. There was a play on a third down. I want to say it was in the third quarter. Yeah, it was the third quarter, and he targets Connor Hayward over the middle. Now, the Packers showed a simulated pass rush and basically a fake blitz, and everyone was pressed at the line of scrimmage, so it was showing like, hey, this is going to be an all-out blitz with man coverage. But they backed off into a shallow zone, and Kenny Pickett didn't see it in time, and he forced a pass that ended up being knocked down. What he didn't see was Damontae Johnson streaking past his man who was in that short zone and was wide open for a touchdown. Now, Kenny Pickett isn't going to always see everything. It's not about him seeing everything, but it's, again, kind of getting fooled in those moments and having those mistakes, and they pile up and they pile up and they pile up, and it's becoming reasonable to ask when or if or when Kenny Pickett will figure this out in the NFL and be a quarterback that can help the Steelers win more consistently on offense with the passing game. Because we've seen the flashes, even in this game, even in some of the passes that he threw a 28-yarder to George Pickens. I was like, whoa, where's that? It was a back shoulder pass right on the money, and got really good yards there. Solid. But again, it's not consistent enough. And I think people are starting to wise up to what I've been saying for a while about the Steelers offense, especially national media and even some local media are starting to realize this isn't all on Matt Canada. This isn't all about play calls. There's a lot that's there. There's a lot that's there that's not being taken by Kenny Pickett in this offense that just needs to execute more consistently. And I think people are starting to wise up to that. And that's not to say that Matt Canada is a genius and that he's without blame for what's going on in the offense, because he is not. He is very much also part of the struggles that have been going on. But we can see how the run game is evolving with Broderick Jones, because they've gotten a presence in there that's helping with that. And Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are helping with that. And they're cultivating something there. Something like that needs to happen for the passing game. And it needs to be, part of it needs to be Kenny Pickett finding ways to get the balls to his playmakers, reading defenses more consistently and taking what's there. And we haven't seen it for a full game yet in his career. And I think this was game 22 for him as a starter. You need him to be able to show you that that's possible, just even a flash of a game to show that that's possible. And I think that's very much part of things. Now, I remind everyone to be patient about things because sometimes it takes quarterbacks time to develop. I'm not dooming Kenny Pickett to never being able to develop. And I want to state this right here for the here and now for all there's the two insane camps. One camp and Steelers fans thinks that Kenny Pickett's terrible and will never be good, and you need to just move on from him and not give him any more chances. There's the other camp that thinks that Kenny Pickett is infallible, and that if you question him, that you're a hater, and that you're not you don't really believe in him, and you're not giving him a fair shake. There is a middle ground which says like, hey, certain things haven't worked out in Kenny Pickett's favor. There have been drop passes. The offensive line hasn't been good up until the last couple games. The things that he's had to go through, Matt Canada's system hasn't been the best for him. But at the same time, there's also been plenty of plays where he's had the opportunity to make the play. And again, not crazy plays, not insane 50-yard bombs that are threaded on a needle between two defenders, but just taking the guy that's right in front of him, and he's not done it consistently enough. And if I'm telling y'all, if that simple step can be made, if Matt Canada or whoever needs to get it through to Kenny Pickett can get him to take that one step up in his career in this season, it makes this team so much more dangerous. I'm not talking about being, doing some of the stuff that CJ Stroud's doing for the Texans. I'm talking about when there's a slant and it's open, get it there. When there's a shallow cross and you get the look there, get it there. When you're running layered routes over the middle and you get a 2-on-1 where there's one defender and two offensive players, and he has to pick which one to guard because they're in a zone, and he picks one, Kenny Pickett consistently picking the other. Those type of things have to become more regular occurrences for Kenny Pickett. It's just a fact that if the Steelers want to get there, they are going to need that from him at some point this season consistently, not just in the fourth quarter. That's going to be huge. But all that being said, this Steelers team is 6-3, and right now they are tied for second in the AFC North. They would still be the 5th seed in the AFC playoffs if things were to start today. And they have a huge game against a 6-3 Browns team that just upset the Ravens. We got a lot to talk about this week. I'll have my stars and skulls grades tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and check me out here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes with bonus episodes on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow with more on your Pittsburgh Steelers.